And we're in. How you doing today? Welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. So glad to be here.
It is getting hot though. Like I can feel it in the studio, especially when people come in because you can't run the air conditioner with the mics and stuff, and it does warm up. So we try to do the podcast like later in the afternoon.
Smart, smart. I parked two blocks away, and I think I have a tan. It's all happening.
That's good. It's good we didn't waste any time on your walk over.
That's right.
So look, today's all about you. I mean, where are you from? Let's just get into it.
Jump into it. Well, I'm from Alabama. Hi, y'all.
You've lost your accent.
Well, 4 years of boys in diction because I used to talk like that real bad the whole time. How you doing? I grew up in a very, very small town, a mile square with 7 churches.
7.
7. Hi, y'all. How you doing? Exactly. All that. And it was a great place to be, or it is a great place to be from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my upbringing, we were poor, and I grew up with my aunt and my grandparents. And there was a little general store that my grandfather had, and I grew up in a house with no bathroom. I was in the first grade. And the background of hard work and what's important, and also none of the Southern racial crap. My grandfather had a little store, and if you came Monday through Thursday, you paid no money.
Mm.
You put things down on a ticket. Then on Friday payday, you came in, you paid off your ticket and got your groceries or whatever.
Mhm.
And if you paid your bills, you were welcome. And if you didn't, you weren't. And so it didn't matter what color your skin was because everyone in that area was poor.
Mhm.
So it didn't really matter. So I didn't have that in my immediate family.
Mhm.
One little ring out, it was clear.
Mhm.
But I also was very lucky that I knew I don't want to be that. That's not part of who I want to be within my upbringing.
So you had to get out.
Big time.
Mm.
Also, it was a dry county. And to this day, 2025, it is still dry. The city portion, wet,
Mhm.
which means they can serve alcohol, but, not far because Jesus didn't like it. He would really water into wine. It's a different kind of wine,
Yeah.
different kind of thing. I'll tell you one trivia that you may or may not know. Do you drink whiskey?
I love single malt whiskey.
Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels is from Tennessee
Mhm.
in a dry county.
Oh, really?
They can make it, but they can't sell it like there. You have to go to the next county over to get what brings their revenue tax.
Are you serious? I didn't know there were still dry counties in the United States.
100% more than you would think.
Right. Yeah, and people don't know that.
No. Help them.
I think like 70% of the people who listen to this podcast are from the United States, and then like 30% are kind of international.
Right.
But the amount of people I get writing in from the US, like who have no idea what's going on in other parts of this country is amazing. So in the South, there are still districts of states that are dry, and that's a religious requirement.
I don't know if it's a religious requirement. I'm sure it comes from religious overtones,
Mhm.
but it definitely comes from back when. So
Prohibition days.
that's right.
Yeah.
Back when, it was you can make it
Mhm.
in the moonshine world, but you couldn't buy it or sell it. The first drink of alcohol I ever had at 6 years old was moonshine.
Mhm.
It will kill you.
It will.
Kill you. So that also sort of turned me off from that. My mom, God bless her, 3 years gone now.
Sorry about.
She married a terrible person who loved alcohol, not my father,
Hmm.
but also visiting that was a great thing for me because again, I knew I don't want to be that. That's not part of what I want to be in my culture.
Mhm.
So in Alabama, in the area that I grew up in, we were a dry household, except for cough syrup,
Okay.
whiskey, lemon, honey. That tastes bad. I don't want that, but
It's terrifying because like there's so many people coming out now, and I feel like since COVID, a lot more people have been coming out like sober, like avoiding alcohol. But a lot of people are coming out saying like, you know, and they're openly saying like, I've done every drug on the planet,
right.
and alcohol is by far the most dangerous.
Well, and it's so interesting, like, in the county that was dry, we were 5 miles from the Tennessee border. So you could drive to Tennessee, get drunk, and drive home. That made God happy, I guess. I don't know. Or in college, I went to college in North Alabama, you could drive and get a big ass keg
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, get bombed out of your mind in college. But other than that, depending on what side of the religious dogma that you're on, it makes you happy or unhappy.
The southern United States is like a totally different universe. I feel like, because most people like, okay, New York, L.A., maybe Chicago, maybe Seattle, San Francisco, like people kind of get it. But like Alabama, Georgia, New Orleans. New Orleans is a city, not a state.
It is.
It is, yeah.
It is.
But it's
Louisiana.
Louisiana is what I was looking for. it's like its own universe, like, it's got its own rules, it's got its own kinda depth regarding, like, religion and lifestyle choices and everything. It's
Well, it's crazy there because the difference between blue and red, between your however you politically go,
Mhm,
there's a lot of cities that are blue, but the counties out in the rural area all red. So Huntsville, Alabama is now the largest city in the state. Huntsville, Alabama is where the bomb was built for World War II. Who knew?
the
So
atomic bomb.
correct,
Okay.
correct. So NASA, the Redstone Arsenal that's there, giant, giant facility, and that's why it's the largest city now in the state. So there are people from around the world, education, doctorates, Nobel Prize winning. It's fascinating. Mobile, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa. If you like football, Roll Tide from Tuscaloosa, all of that. There's a lot of amazing things that happen. The Shakespeare Festival that's in Coleman, Alabama, I believe. There's a lot of culture and a lot of great singing and things that come out of Alabama, and people have came so far. My husband and I had a small restaurant in Florence, Alabama, where I went to college, and everyone came that were kind of middle class and above. It was gay people, straight people, interracial couples, college professors, doctors, lawyers, and everyone was welcome.
Mhm.
And so you saw humanity in a wonderful way in Alabama. But if you waited 3 minutes and you looked out the window, you could see a truck with a rebel flag fly by, you know?
Right.
So people have came so far and people have came nowhere.
Mhm.
Um, Again, Alabama's a great place to be from. I still have friends and family that are there, and I'm kind of proud of my upbringing and what I was able to do there. And believe me, this in rural Alabama was a lot.
I
It
bet.
was an old TV show called The Munsters, when they were all sort of Munsters, except for their daughter, Marilyn, who was odd and different. I was sort of Marilyn. I was sort of odd and different,
Yeah.
and I've always been that, with sort of what was in me had to come out, and my aunt that lived next to where we grew up was the craft queen. Anything from a magazine that could possibly be done, I did with her, and that's part of my creativity that I
Mhm.
have now. The aunt that I grew up with was the Southern Judge Judy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, don't mess with Pauline, she'll fuck you up, sorry, hope
Yeah.
that's okay.
No, we swear on this
Okay,
podcast, yeah.
fuck, but yeah, but again, great people, hard, hard, hardworking people. My grandmother was like Granny on the Beverly Hillbillies. If she could, pick a leaf off a tree, she could grow it,
Mhm.
and we grew what we ate what we grew because again, growing up poor, uh, freezers full of things, canned goods sort of thing, so I knew where money came from, and I knew where money did not come from, and still to this day, it's hard for me to spend money, um, frivolously. I look for the bargain. Even in my business, I'm always looking for the bargain because no matter who you're working with, no one has money or the
Yeah.
kind of money that they should. So we have to be diligent about how we spend it and be smart about it. So that's sort of in me. I love estate sales on Sundays, which is the cheap day,
Mhm.
and the things that I found for my company is an amazing thing that, again, my upbringing from Alabama has put in me that I can cast on till this day.
So, I mean, like, it's interesting because, like, here you are, you're from the South, kinda difficult upbringing, like, where did this idea of, like, "I'm just gonna create a career in entertainment" come from? And then how did you even manifest those steps that you needed to take to get to Los Angeles and run this, wonderful company that you have today?
Well, boys in Alabama did not dance. I grew up in the church, playing the piano and singing, so I had a voice.
Mm.
And then when I went to college, which was North Alabama, I played the piano for productions. I went there on work study, and so I accompanied, uh, people on their choral, advancement program and all those things, so I made money to pay for my college as I went through. But I remember sitting in the pit for a show, it's like, "I don't wanna be down here. It's no fun down here." I mean, I love playing, but I want to be up there. There's a song that people talk about from time to time, "Wind Beneath My Wings."
Oh, yeah, yeah. Bette Midler.
That's right.
Mm,
Well, you have to realize that you have wings, you know?
mhm.
And those people that help you realize that, you never forget. Robert Allen Holder, Dr. Robert Allen Holder was a guy that helped me find wings. And he was like, "Okay, come audition. No problem." Because I could sing, but I'd never really danced. So we did this little orientation for the summer freshmen as they were coming. It was called SOAR.
Mhm.
So I became a source singer. Who knew?
Mhm.
What's that little movement stuff? So I did a little. It was very remedial, mostly singing.
How old were you at that stage?
20?
Uh-huh. Oh, so pretty late in the game, like,
Yeah,
to figure out, like, you liked being on stage.
100%.
Yeah.
But still, I had no idea that you could make a living. I had no concept that show business could be a way for me in the future. So when I graduated, I got accepted into Macy's. They had an executive training program. So I went to that and I moved to Atlanta
Mhm.
and I managed crystal, china, gift, silver for a mall store for Macy's. Remember that I grew up poor. I knew about maybe a fork and a knife, but what the hell is all that other stuff? And what do you mean China? What do you mean? So the ladies that had worked in this mall had been there for 20 plus years, and I became their child almost.
Mhm.
And I put myself on the board like everybody. That's right. They took me under their wing and they showed me about China, how to polish, and I learned as much as they did. I worked as hard as they did. I wasn't like just the guy in the office over there. I cleaned silver like they did because I wanted to know my business and learn how to grow it and do
Is Atlanta like a hub, a big city hub for people, like, coming out of the South? Like, that's, like, the first jumping off point you get to, like
big time,
yeah.
big time. There or Birmingham because not knowing what was what and not knowing what was going down. But I liked it, but I didn't love it because still burning in me was like, "Yeah, showbiz, maybe." So, in Atlanta, there was Six Flags Over Georgia, and I'd auditioned once when I was, I don't know, maybe still in college just to see what it was all about. Well, I went back, and my best friend and I, we auditioned, and he got it.
Mm,
And the choreographer came up and said, "Just so you know, I fought for you. I wanted you to be in the show. I think you're great.
mm.
If someone drops out, you're in."
Oh, wow.
Okay, cool. So my best friend had also auditioned for a place in Nashville called Opryland, which was an amazing, amazing, kind of like a Disney theme park.
Mhm.
Now it's a mall. Someone that
Wow.
owned it thought, "I'll make more money." And anyway, so Opryland no more. But he took Opryland,
Mhm.
and my phone rang, and I took Six Flags.
Mm.
And I had to call my family in Alabama and tell them that I was quitting my $25,000 a year job to make $4.50 an hour at the Crystal Pistol Show.
Mhm.
Let me tell you, all the air in in the lungs of my they just knew I'd ruined my life.
By wanting to by wanting to pursue art and creativity
'Cause
and
they had
and
no
performance.
That's right, because they had no just like me, they had no concept that the future could be bright with showbiz. Who knew? Who could ever comprehend that?
Mhm.
So
These nepo babies out here in LA, like these, children of famous actors and stuff like that, they have such a leg up, don't they? Like, because
beyond.
when they're like 8 years old, they get to see their parents be successful actors and actresses or stage performers, and they're like, "Wow, I can make a living doing that." But the rest of us, we don't figure it out until, like, we're in our 20s, and even then, we still have to get to LA.
That's right. That's right, and figure out where we're going. How do we get there? What do we wanna do? Is it in front, behind? What is it gonna be?
Mm.
So so I took this job and I could
Sorry to interrupt. This is Six Flags, like the amusement park.
amusement park,
Yeah.
and they had a big, like, production hall inside with singing and dancing and whatever, so I was hired as a singer. But when I got hired, you're doing some choreography, and then there were other points where I was like, "What's that?" "Tap dancing. Show me." And my body just said, "Okay." And I learned, and things just came naturally. And I'll never forget this day either. Now it's time for the show to open, and they were going to appoint the dance captain, the person to be in charge. And so it's about 14 people in the show. And the director, who was from, it all came out of Texas. So the guy that was there from Texas said, "And our dance captain is going to be Doug Johnson."
Wow, the pressure.
Wait, wait, that's me.
Yeah.
What? But I was 24 years old. I wasn't 19. So I at least had some life experience, and they saw that I wanted to learn. They saw that I was eager and I wanted things to be right,
Did anything
disciplined.
did anything that you did in university lead you to wanna pursue that? Like, because you said when you were young, like, entertainment, you didn't even know you could make a living from that.
Right.
So what did you study in university? And then what kind of and then you got that job at Macy's, but I'm just curious, like, what did you do in university to kind of continue to open up this idea in your mind?
So in university, I thought I was gonna be a piano major. because I grew up, I was really talented,
Mm.
but I was really talented in the county. And so when I sat down for Dr. I think her name was Cecilia Crastity Jones, double doctorate in organ and piano she had. So I played my religious fancy tune and she was like, "No, no, dear.
Oh,
No,
God.
no, no. We do Chopin." So I spent 4 years in college learning to roll my wrist.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, "Okay, this is great, but I've gotta play for this recital that's coming up for a vocalist, and I can't play this section." So I faked a lot of stuff.
Mm.
But in college, being in the little tiny bit of shows that I was in and having a guy that was like come up on stage that sort of allowed me to play in that area. I can't say that I believed it. It was fun, but it felt like a hobby.
Mhm.
I was too afraid to really say, I want to do this for a living. So when the Macy's thing came along, okay, it's business.
Mhm.
I'm sure I could do that, no problem.
Mm.
But you know, it never left me, and when the opportunity came, I could not turn it down.
It's scary, isn't it? Like when you decide to try to pursue something as a financial means to a lifestyle, isn't it? Like, and it's not necessarily a traditional way to go.
No,
Yeah.
especially I knew what the other side of the coin was. I knew what no money felt like,
Mhm.
and again, back to the wing thing, standing on the precipice of I don't know what it is. I don't know what I'm standing on this cliff, but I gotta jump.
Mhm.
I've gotta see if I can fly and see what happens. So I did 3 years at Six Flags and learned in 7 shows a day,
7 shows a day.
45-minute shows. So today, when kids say, "I'm tired," it's like, it's 9 minutes. "Shut up, get back, get rid,"
Uh,
that people so again, I learned so much. I worked at the Alliance Theater, which is a Broadway um, theater in Atlanta.
mhm.
I did, and those were the next level of shows and the bigger of, "Okay, these people are trusting me, and now I'm in the front row as a dancer." Now I'm getting to have some roles and stuff. In 1990, I'm sorry, 1989, one of the directors from there was doing a show in Long Beach. The Long Beach used to have something called the Civic Light Opera. The Civic Light Opera was a big deal here because they would do major shows and they would get television stars to
Mm.
come and be the stars of the show.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It was amazing.
Mm.
So he called and said, "Hey, Doug, someone broke their ankle and we need another dancer. I can't
Yes.
fly you here, but if you can get yourself here, you have a job."
Oh.
So I'm like, I will crawl there. I don't know how to. So I flew here and I did Cinderella.
Mhm.
And Cinderella was starring an Olympic diver called named Greg Louganis,
Oh,
who had
just
just
the famous guy.
who had just came out of the '88 Olympics.
Right.
And so he was the big thing. Pat Carroll, who you may not know that name, Pat Carroll was the voice of Ursula, the sea witch in the movie Little Mermaid.
Mhm.
She was the fairy godmother and other stars.
Mm.
And so I was just like, "Oh my."
What was it like going from Alabama to Atlanta and then coming out to California? Because it all happens here, right? And you must have known that at that
Yeah.
stage. You're like, "Holy shit, I'm going to La La Land."
Well, and New York. So
Right, yeah.
again, back to people that help you. When I was 14, I was really involved in the church because I knew that I was a big gay boy in Alabama, but that wasn't cool. So I hid what I would say I hid behind the cross.
Mhm.
And I was as religious as I could possibly be. And United Methodist Youth Fellowship was a big thing. And I was really involved in that and around the country, whatever. But it was an opportunity for two people from the state of Alabama to go to New York for this conference. And I got selected to go at 14.
Oh, wow.
My aunt took me to Birmingham. I met the other person. I got on a plane and I flew to New York at 14 years old. God,
Game changer.
game changer.
Uh,
We went to Broadway shows. We went to Washington for 5 days. We met with our ambassador to the UN. That was a big time game changer. And just knowing there's a big world out there. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I know that it's bigger than Alabama. I know that it has to be more than that. I want to go back one more thing. I'm sorry. I have so much stuff to tell.
it's so good. I'm
So,
loving it.
4 years old.
Right?
I'm assuming you've probably never killed a chicken.
No, but we have killed a lot of animals on our TV show because we have to travel and trek through all these places and we end up just kind of going and collecting animals as we go, donkeys or not donkeys, like chickens and pigs and things like that. But I've never actually killed one with my own hands.
So I hated the spring. Spring was helter-skelter time. Blech. So my grandmother was the ringer of the chicken neck, and my grandfather was the chopper of the rooster. I held onto the rooster's feet. He chopped it, I threw it. Chickens don't die instantly. They run around with no heads.
I've seen that.
4 years old. And I'm sorry, I hope that's not too graphic, but the thing that's still left is still squirting blood.
Mhm.
So you have to be careful, otherwise you get squirted in the face. So at 4 years old, this helter-skelter, chicken running, dead things are happening, and my job was to pluck feathers off of dead chickens. So as big as this table, hot, bloody chicken water, plucking chickens, and I'm crying like a baby.
Mhm.
And as God is my witness, I'm like, "This cannot be my life."
At 4.
I'm telling honest to God, I'm like, I can't, this cannot be all that I can be.
That's such a powerful memory.
I promise. Yes, because I was like, it was so sickening and disgusting, but I knew I had it was my again, it was my job because this is what we ate
Mm.
in the winter, so it was my role, so I did my job, but anyway, so
Can I give you a little aside?
please,
I have a chicken story.
God bless you.
So we were filming in India a couple years ago before COVID, and we were going to this peak called Jagatsuk Peak in northern India, just outside Manali, and and we hired these outfitters to take us there because we travel all around. We don't know the local conditions everywhere, so we always travel with other people who can show us the way. So we hire these local outfitters, and they prepare all the food and stuff like that, and then we just show up and then we go. So so on day one there was this box with all these holes in it, pretty big box, and it had holes in it. I was like, "Oh, are we taking live animals like with us?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's the dinner box." And it's like, "That's the chicken box." So in that box was ten live chickens. And every day we killed one chicken on the trip, so that we would have fresh chicken with our dinner. But
Literally fresh.
literally fresh. So so it was funny. So we were making these jokes, and that this is life on the road when you're out in the middle of nowhere too. You have to kill animals to live. And so we're out there, and every day the box, every day 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and we were making these jokes that Roger was the last chicken, and
Here's my friends going, right? Wow.
exactly. And but it was amazing because we had such fresh food every day, and that really helped with morale, and it helped keep us strong, and we were climbing a big mountain, and it was great. So that element of it was fantastic, but it was so interesting. So again, they would one guy would hold it, one guy would cut it, would run around in circles squirting blood, and then someone would have to feather it and then cut it up and put it in with our Indian, like our masala or whatever we were having that night with the bread and stuff, and it was just amazing. But you having to do it at 4 just sounds so traumatic.
Truly, truly. And, but again, so many people have more traumatic things that they have to do in their life. But for me, that was one of the top 10.
So
So,
what was that trip like to New York at 14? Like, I mean, did you have a chaperone? Like, what?
oh yes.
Yeah.
So there were 100 of us because there were two from every state.
Right.
So again, magical, just wide-eyed. What's happening? Golly, what's a Broadway show? Okay. First Broadway show was uh, Peter Pan.
Oh, wow.
And then we saw The Wiz,
Mhm.
and one thing I'll never forget about The Wiz, Eveline, the Wicked Witch, large African American woman, voice, just whatever. Her breasts were eyes, and from time to time, they would blink.
All right.
So, I don't know if I made that up in my head, but that's what I remember about the show.
At 14.
At 14. But yeah, I mean, in meeting it was 14 to 16-year-olds,
Mm.
and it was fascinating meeting all the other, kids. Of course, a lot of people wanna hear me talk,
Mhm.
you know? Um,
That would have been the fun part, right? It's like, hey, what's it like in Washington State? What's it like in
Well,
Colorado? What's it like in
killing
Montana?
chickens.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, all that. When I was in college, because again, a lot of that, I had heard talk from me, but I also sort of knew that I didn't want that to be my legacy,
Mhm.
you know? I knew that if I wanted to have a better life, I needed to find a way to kinda tone that down a little bit.
Mhm.
The voice and diction coach at the University of North Alabama had a way. He had chopped up dry erasers, like, uh, chalk eraser
Mm.
types, and he gave you a little paragraph, and you had 5 minutes, and then you get to front of the class and read it. If you misspoke, he threw a piece of the eraser at you.
Oh, wow.
Day 1, mine was Salmon.
Mhm.
It wasn't salmon, it was Solomon. So I learned really quick to bring a dictionary,
Yeah.
and any word I wasn't 100% sure, quickly look it up so that, "Oh!" you didn't get a little eraser in the face. So my southernness kinda went down. I do bring it back a lot from time to time because it's really helped me in my business, and people love a little bit of southern charm, and
Does it come out when you get angry?
it comes out when I'm with other people. It turns into hee-haw when we're as a group
Mm.
that, we hear each other. When I'm tired, on,
Mhm.
on, turn the light on. What? My husband also would say, because 'cause I'm the baby of the family, and whenever I'd spoke with my family on the phone, it would bring it back out a little bit, and so when my husband would get home, he would say, "Who have you been talking to today?" "What do you mean?" It would reignite it again for a little while, and
Yeah.
I'd have to think about it a little bit, but magical. Back to Long Beach.
Okay, yeah, yeah, you flew yourself out to Long
So
Beach.
so there I am doing the show, all these amazing people. One of my best friends still to this day, Steve, um, we watched other chorus boys flutter around Greg Louganis. So we're like, "We're gonna leave him alone, and he'll come to us, ha ha."
Mhm.
And so now it's time for the show. We're in the Terrace Theater. Pat Carroll is the funniest woman on the planet. She could read the phone book and be funny, like one of those ladies. So we loved her, she loved us, and Steve and I would hang out in her dressing room, sit at her table, giant fan under her desk, her dress up, blowing it all out,
Mhm.
And she would tell stories that were just, we were rolling to the floor. Gray was very shy, and he was next dressing room over. A couple of shows in, he pokes his head around the corner. He was like, "You guys are having so much fun. Can I come in there?"
Mm.
And that's how it happened.
Wow.
So I'm still friends with Greg to this day. I was his best man at his wedding.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah.
you know, things happen when you're just real and you're not fake and all that.
But coming from small town Alabama
It
and
was big
then
time. Well, the people, so I did the next show, which was Follies. I can remember all these names, but uh, Ema Sumac. Um, not going to say them all.
mm,
But anyway, these were legends, like Hollywood old royalty. And again, it's like, what is, what is happening? You know, the opportunities of life that came to me. Someone said to me a long time ago, you better be ready because opportunities don't always knock twice.
right.
You have to believe in yourself. You have to do your homework. You have to be prepared. And again, from Alabama, my grandfather, hard worker, little general store, every day of the year, working every day, always smiling, always happy, always up,
Mhm.
always with a story. But he was big and had loud, which I'll do that later. But
Mm.
that prepared me also. Be truthful, be honest, shake my hand. That means something.
Yeah.
That your word means as much as a contract. That what you say you're going to do, you're going to do it, as opposed to, yeah, no, maybe, kind of, no, 100%. And
LA must be very disappointing for you.
well, LA's been great for me because I've always been an overachiever.
Mm.
Again, hiding behind the cross. Don't look over there, look over, trying to do those things.
Mm.
So I've always tried to be as big as I can be and as much as I can be. And my aunt, the crafty lady, was part of it. My aunt Pauline, the Judge Judy, also part of it. She laughed. Everyone heard her laugh, funny. Unfortunately, when I was 19, my aunt died of cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So she was my mom, my dad, my everybody.
Mm.
So I was angry, really, really angry at God about that. So that sort of transposed a little bit of my Southern upbringing, where I'm like, not that I was mad at my mother, but my mother was a rebellious, sort of married to a drunk kind of person. And my aunt was joyful and religious and funny and fun. And we were the house that everyone came to and all that stuff. And now in a split second through cancer, which is the big C word that we all know and hate, it was different, and I had to figure it out. Like, whoa, you know. She never really got to see what I became.
Mm,
I never said that I was gay. My mother asked if I was, you know,
mhm.
10 years later. I was very fortunate that that happened.
What was that like holding in your sexual orientation and not being able to be yourself? I mean, how difficult was that? I mean, you leaned hard on religion so that people wouldn't ask you these questions.
Yes.
What was that like kind of living in the shadows of who you really were?
Well, it was tough because again, this is what I've always been.
Mm,
I was in the band. I went to a high school that was kindergarten through 12th grade. You marched in the band in the 7th grade because there were 1,000 students, kindergarten through 12th grade. So sometimes football players were in the band. So you'll see people marching around at halftime in their football uniform
that's cool.
because it's so rural, like you have everybody has to do everything. But it also meant that as a 7th grader, because of the band thing, my PE was with seniors.
Mm.
If I said dodgeball, would you know what I meant?
Yeah, yeah, dodgeball. Yeah,
Murder ball.
yeah.
It's one thing when a 7th grader throws it at each other.
Mhm.
It's a very different concept when a senior is throwing a ball at you.
Yeah.
Ouch. So, I heard all the words. I heard all the things. I heard all the things. I was pushed up against the lockers, I had all that. But again, my family was beyond supportive.
Mm.
At Back to the 4-year-old thing, my neighbor, to the right were girls, to the left were boys. She had a baton. I can't think of the movie, but it's like Thor's hammer. When the baton touched my hand, something magical happened. And again, it just happened. And then there were 2 of them, and it was magical. There's an old, old song which you've never heard called Judy in Disguise. At 4 years old, with my 45 record in my hand, I would stand in line at talent shows that my aunt and my grandparents had driven 60 miles to take me to with rock bands and other stuff. And people like, "Ooh, is he holding his sister's baton? Like, what's this little kid doing?"
At 4?
At 4. And people were not kind sometimes,
Mhm,
but 9 times out of 10, I won, which was great.
mhm.
Plus also, sometimes it was money
Mm,
and it helped the family,
mm.
you know,
So you were born to be on stage
or something.
or something like that?
But all of those things, in the 1st grade, they invited me to be part of the halftime show with this little baton twirler guy.
Mhm.
So on Friday, during the parade and whatever, I thought it was a very cool thing. On Monday, back to school, I was a sissy,
Right.
and I never really, again, because of the environment I'd grown up in, that wasn't part of my vocabulary. Again, people had said some things in these talent show things that I really wasn't quite aware. Later, I remembered,
Mhm,
but people can be harsh. But it's also helped me be strong.
mhm.
It's helped me be who I am. In Atlanta, actually, let me stay in college. In college, um, there was a movie that came out, Harry Hamlin, Michael on King, and one of the Charlie's Angels, who I can't remember her name. The movie was called Making Love, and it had a gay theme. My best friend and I, and a girl that I was youth pastor at um, Florence United Methodist Church, we all went to see this movie in the afternoon. She was completely disgusted and grossed out. His name was John Blaylock. We sat either side, both wiping away tears quietly and silently. So she went on her way. We went back to my house. And I said, "I have something to tell you. I think I'm like that guy in the movie." And he fell on the floor laughing. I was so angry. I'm like, "What are you? I can't believe you would have." And he stopped laughing. He looked at me. He said, "I'm that way too." And then we both fell on the floor laughing. We were never a couple. We were never romantic. We were never that. But we were mentors to each other and trying to figure out what the hell we're doing because hiding gay men in North Alabama when you're the only two in the world, how do you know? God's truth. So we wanted to go to a gay bar. The closest big city was Nashville. Okay, you're 21 years old. How do you find a gay bar in rural Alabama, Tennessee? You call the police and you lie and you say that my cousin is here in Nashville and he's a homosexual
Mhm.
and I'm trying to find him. And the police will say, be careful. You know how they are. And they swear to God. So they gave me the names of a couple of clubs
Yeah.
and we pull up at this nightclub and it's probably 7 o'clock at night, early. But anyway, so we're at the door and like, you go, no, no, you open, no, you open. So finally we go in, we pay, we run in, we sit down, the lights go down. Drag bar.
Oh.
Who knew?
Right.
Who knew? So, um,
That was your first experience with it? Like, so that movie really set
mhm.
for you figured it out.
Well, I knew that things were different. I mean, I knew I just couldn't, like I dated girls,
Mhm.
but I never, I could never imagine doing that. Or again, that there were actual other people like me. Like I'm the only one, you know,
Mhm. Out of
s-
your high school, like 1,000 kids, like, th nothing.
nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. Um, so at this gay bar, um, she was an activist out of Florida whose name is not going to come to me.
Mhm.
She was all about orange juice as well. So a drag queen dressed up like this lady who I'm going to come back to, who got a pie in the face on national television, which she deserved. But anyway, she had little shot glasses of orange juice and she passed them out to people singing, I'm sorry. This whole little Southern ta-da. Another lady came out as Vestal Goodman, which I know nobody, maybe two people in this entire podcast will know who Vestal Goodman is. The Happy Goodman family. I played the piano for 25 kids growing up in Alabama when I was 14, called All God's Children. We sang at every church of every kind in a tri state area. And we were crazy popular because we were kids.
Mhm.
We sang with Vestal Goodman and the Happy Goodman family in a giant gospel thing in Nashville. And now here I am in Nashville with a drag queen impersonator of this gospel icon. So I'm like, we're going to hell. We're going to die. We're going to hell. It's not possible. So we did the same thing in Birmingham, but we kept going out at like 7 o'clock.
Mhm.
Who knew?
Before it got going.
Who knew?
Yeah.
And it was like probably men my age now.
Mm.
We were like, it's just old gay men. What? Who are those people? Ooh, yuck. We went to Atlanta and the same thing. We're going out early. And finally, somebody was like, "Go awa come back later."
Mhm.
So we went back to this one club that had, like, a little piano bar, and it was just us, and we were playing the piano and just being silly, and then a door had opened over there. We're like, "What's going on?" It's now 10:30. We went downstairs, and the club was alive.
Mm.
Things were happening. Um, we stood at the doorway as boys would kinda come and go, and we would, rate them or whatever. I'm sure people were rating us too because we were such Southern bimbos.
Mhm.
So, a guy came and asked me to dance. We
Yeah.
were about to explode. Big football guy, big football player guy. So I'm like, okay, here we go. It's happening. So I'm like, you have to come and meet my friend. So I'm hugging John. I'm like, memorize his face in case I become axe murdered or whatever.
Mhm.
I made this guy give John his phone number. And this was, these weren't cell phones back then. And in the middle of the night, the phone rang. His car had been towed at the club that we were at. So this guy that we knew from Adam, because there was no ATM, gave us $150 to get his car out of Hawk.
Mm.
But I cried the entire time, which was great. It was sort of, you know, 21 years of pretending that I was something different from
Mm.
Alabama, 21 years of being angry, 21 years of whatever. And I was 6 feet tall, taller,
Yeah.
after all that.
That's amazing that it took that long and it took that many kind of stops along the way for you to find a place where you could kind of figure out who you were.
Well, yeah, and again, how many people to this day are still hiding behind the cross or hiding behind whatever because sadly parents still kick us out,
Mhm.
or their religion or whatever it is, as opposed to being loving and accepting. And not everybody has that. But like my family in Alabama, we're loving. My grandfather died at 85 before my grandmother met my husband. And after we'd been together many times, she said something like, I'm so glad you have someone like Ken to help take care of you.
Oh.
So whatever she knew, she got
Mhm.
that we were a great mix and all this sort of stuff. So, so
That's nice that grandma could see that
that's
the
right.
2 humans just loving each other doesn't really matter, right?
That's
Yeah.
right. And again, rural time.
Mm.
So after my show here in 89, I went back to Atlanta and I knew it's like, what am I doing?
You left California?
Well, yes, because I only came for the show. So then I went back.
No one leaves.
I know, hello. But I had a house in Atlanta, so I had to pack up stuff and whatever. So I packed up my life and I did a whole thing of other tours and stuff. So I'm back now in LA and I'm back at that theater and I did 3 different shows. Jodie Benson, the voice of the Little Mermaid. I could not get away from that particular movie, but she was the lead in Chess. Anyway, the music director out of the blue said, "Hey, I'm going to Europe for a year. You want to rent my house?"
Wow.
And that was my, "Oh, it's time to move to LA." So my best friend John, we rented his house. 3 years later, was still in this guy's house
Oh, wow.
and just trying to, again, find our way here, gigging, doing silly little movie jobs, all kinds of fun, ridiculous stuff.
Mhm.
Um,
Did you wait tables?
I never waited tables. I was very lucky. I did everything else, though.
Yeah.
I taught in a juvenile hall boys' school
Oh.
as there was 1 accredited teacher and 4 other assistants, but I still had, like, 6 kids, and these were gang kids. These were kids that weren't good at selling drugs and guns. These are the ones that had gotten caught, all, like, 80 feet tall and 300 pounds, and here I am trying to say, "Be quiet and sit down," and whatever, but I also tried to be honest, and it's like, you can say "fuck," you just can never say "fuck you."
Mhm.
Because if you say that to a policeman or to a someone in a position of authority, you're out,
Mhm.
so
How did they respond to you in that environment?
shocking. It was because I was real
Mhm.
and they knew again, another life-changing thing for me where the whole Nancy Reagan "just say no to drugs" had worked for me, and I learned at this school that in LA, they were paying six-year-olds $100 just to watch for the police. You're an inner city mom and your kid is bringing in 5 or $600 a week.
Mhm.
How can you say no to that?
No, that's real money.
Correct,
No.
correct. And we would meet at lunch with social workers and hear all this stuff about these kids. And, we'd just try to get Tommy to shut up and sit down and whatever. And now we find out that his mother is a prostitute and was sold into just crazy stories that would everyone a movie of the week. Everyone like, an R-rated, impossible situation. This one kid I'll never forget. He had the weirdest tattoo I'd ever seen. Not a tattoo. His stepfather, oh, it's emotional for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. These are some serious memories.
He had burned this kid, and not like burned, like his entire arm was coated in this response to
Mhm.
being burned by cigarettes and cigars.
Yeah, it
Just
gets, like, all puffy and stuff like
yes,
that, yeah, and the whole skin turns into something that's not skin.
yes,
And this was, like, a kid?
yes. So he was probably 16 when
Jesus.
we met this kid, and all these kids had all these stories, and some would go home on the weekend and never return because they were killed in some gang thing, or they would kill themselves because they went home to be with their mom and there was some horrible thing and it would never happen.
And you're from, like, rural northern Alabama, and this is what you're doing in your 20s? Like, how much of a wake-up call was that to how brutal life is?
Beyond this one, this one huge, huge, huge African American kid used to call my jeans, which I probably have them on today. I'm sorry. He used to call me, "You're wearing them fuck me pants again." I'm like, "What?" "Yeah, they're so tight. I just know you're saying fuck me." And I'm like, "You know something?
Skinny jeans.
Half of your ass is hanging out because 'cause you're sagging. Hmm, I wonder who is really saying fuck me." I thought he might kill me, but he thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. That was that.
Yeah.
One of the best things I've ever done in my life is I created a talent show at this school because there was one kid in my class that used to draw pornography. It was amazing, but it was graphic, horrific pornography.
Mhm.
And I'm like, leave that, leave that in your dorm. You can draw other things in school. But anyway, so I got this kid to draw something that was not that. And some kids could dance and some kids could sing. And so for once, Greg Louganis came as the judge.
Mhm.
So for once, they had something that was just for them.
Mm.
And there was no fights. There was no, it was like time had stopped.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like you growing up in Northern Alabama, like, not knowing that there's other things to do,
Mhm.
not knowing that there's other creative paths that you can channel that anger and frustration into,
Yep.
and you gave them an outlet.
Yep.
Yeah,
But so many of these kids, when you look at them, are just,
gone.
yeah. And I'm not a woman. I would never make a decision about abortion. But do say this out loud that these kids' stories, these kids burned, of the pain that they had endured. Maybe a fetus has a moment that it feels pain, but this child has felt pain for 16, 18 years. You know, is it possible that it is better that they were not born because of what had been done to them and just this horrible, horrible things that, you know, I don't know, maybe out of the hundreds of kids I met, maybe 3, 4, 5 would ever evolve into normality
Mhm.
and have love and, you know, can get past what was done to them, you know.
By their parents,
Correct.
not
Or
not strangers.
no,
It's almost always their parents or, like, close family members, yeah.
that's right. That's right. Heartbreaking.
Yeah,
So that was the stuff that I was doing.
no,
It certainly gave me a lot when it came to acting. It certainly gave me a lot of things to pull on.
no.
Um,
So how long did you do that?
2.5 years.
Wow, what an education. I mean,
Yes.
did any of them get out? Like, did you get to see any of them find a new path? Like, did
One kid I knew got a job.
hey, that's
That was
that's
that's the
success.
one that was the one kid that I ever knew anything about,
Mm,
and it was interesting to watch teachers also because some, as opposed to de-escalating, some teachers, it was part of their nature to make it be a thing.
make it worse.
Yeah, in which we see today, like there are great cops and there are bad cops. There are great, all those things that we see. There are people that do their job well with joy and determination and with respect, and there are other people who don't. You know,
Well, I did a podcast a couple of months ago, or even maybe a year ago, with someone who was they worked as a prison security guard,
Mm.
and then they worked as a parole officer. And the whole thing is just to get you to fuck up to go back to jail because the jail gets so much money from the state to put you back in. So all they're trying to do is just entrap you
Right.
to screw with you. So for anyone to even get out of the system and get like a normal job and have even a chance at a normal life, it's almost impossible because everything's stacked against you.
Right. Especially again, what do you have to pull from?
Yeah.
What is your foundation of life that you can stand on to find some normality to make some stuff go on?
Yeah.
I
Wow,
got a
what a
job. I another job I had was personal assisting. So I did various personal assisting jobs, and then my phone rang, and it was a really good friend who was personal assistant to Elizabeth Taylor,
oh wow.
and someone else. And I'm hoping it's okay to say their names now because my NDA has expired many years ago. But so uh, I was personal assistant. I'm sorry, I interviewed with Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Oh wow, yeah.
So they were looking for a house manager for their home in Malibu.
Hmm.
It had been through a fire, and so they needed to do the whole thing. So my friend recommended me to the screener, and I met with the screener, and then they picked 6, and we met with his wife, Marilyn, and then she picked 2, and then we met with Jeffrey,
Hmm.
and they picked me,
Oh wow.
which was, again, poor boy from Alabama going to, I can't imagine, it was spectacular, 10,000,000, who knows? Who knows? But this spectacular, custom designed estate on PCH.
Hmm.
So I had to help get it back together because it had been in a fire. So there was none of the artifacts were there, blah, blah, blah. So,
And getting a chance to work with like one of the most legendary music producers of all time.
well, let me stop for 1 second. So that happened. I went to work on a Monday. On a Saturday, the Saturday before that, I used to go to a club here in town called Oil Can Harry's. Oil Can Harry's was on Ventura Boulevard in Studio City. It was a gay country western bar. It was the most incredible place ever. Gay, straight, old, young, fat, skinny, celebrities, you name it. Everyone went there, and it was packed. To Tuesday through Saturday was the thing.
Oil can Kenny's?
Oil Can Harry's. It sadly did not survive COVID.
Oh,
Wah. But so my friends, dancer types, we would all go, especially on Friday night, because that was the big boys' night. That there's a line around the door, but they let us in because we'd been going there forever. Anyway, on a Saturday night, a bunch of our friends would go because it wasn't so busy, and you could spin and turn and dance, and you'd leave sweaty because you were being athletic, and we get to meet a bunch of different people and dance with all kinds of people. So on a Saturday night, before my job started on Monday, a friend called me over after doing a little line dance, and his name was Craig. Craig said, "Craig, meet my good friend Ken. Ken, meet Doug. You guys should go dance."
mhm.
And a couple of songs later, this guy Ken said, "Tell me you're single, please." And then a couple of dances later, he said, "Do you like dogs?" And I said, "I love dogs. I used to have a cocker spaniel." His eyes got big. He said, "I have a cocker spaniel at home right now, named after my mom, Peggy."
Hmm.
So Monday, I started my job. In the evening, I think on Wednesday, we had a date. We had another date on Thursday night. And on Thursday night, I discovered that we have the same birth dates as his parents. He was born on his mom's birthday, and I was born on his father's birthday. And that was that. And now, 29 years later,
Hmm.
so
Congratulations. That's not easy.
no, it is not easy. I'm a lot.
Yeah.
So pray for him.
29 years. That's
Yes.
even business relationships don't last 29
Yeah.
years.
No. So it was an interesting little time for me there that
Mm,
I met this interesting guy, and then I started working with Trevor Katzenberg on Monday. And my time with the Katzenbergs was a wonderful experience.
mhm.
It was beyond college. They were always kind. They were tough because they should be tough. It's their time away.
Did you ever get to the Troubadour or to the Whiskey Go-Go or any for any of these bigger performances?
No, but for Jeffrey, he was more DreamWorks. He was more movie
Oh, that was
type
that
stuff.
stage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this was after he'd left Disney,
Mhm.
and DreamWorks was just happening.
Before he went to Disney, he was a music, producer though, wasn't he? He worked with like
I believe so. And
yeah.
also DreamWorks, SKG,
Mhm.
Spielberg, Katzenberg, Geffen, trifecta with those men.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Jeffrey, totally a visionary, and still, my God, the things that he's got to do and accomplished.
Mhm.
But this was their weekend getaway for the summer. So I swear they could, open the back door. There's a scratch on the second floor balcony light. So I learned perfection
Mhm.
from them. And again, they weren't unkind, but when they left on Sunday, I had a list. And by the next week, it was my job to make that list go away.
Of all the problems in the house or everything that need to be fixed,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yep. And then as we were getting the house up, I've always been a talker. I've always been a storyteller. And Jeffrey had said, if you need help, just call me and I'll do what I can to help. And I was having trouble with a guy doing install of, I don't know, floors or something, but it had to be done because they were coming. So I called, and he said hello, and I jumped into my story. All the adjectives, everything. I was giving this. It's like, Doug, stop. I want to help you, but I'm very busy. Just be succinct and just tell me what is the sentence that you need from me, and I'm going to do it. And that changed my life.
Mhm.
And now, even in my business right now, to this day, to my assistant, I've had those very words. Later, you can tell me all about it, but at this moment, just tell me, how can I help you?
Yeah, I was listening to one executive once, and he said that, like, between 7 AM and, like, 10 PM, any of his staff that write him or call him, they have to anytime they communicate with him, they have to give the information to him in a yes no answer, so that all he has to do is understand the information and then say yes or no.
Right.
And no big stories, no big show, just lay out the information and then give me a yes or no prompt. And then
That's
I
right.
can, and that's all he does. And he says, like, since he made that move, he's been hyper efficient.
Well, yeah, because you want to tell your story. You want to do your thing, but I got it. No, later over drinks when it's fun and casual, we can do all that. But right now, I'm on fire, and I need to do stuff. So during my time with the Katzenbergs, everyone in Hollywood came, like it was the whole thing, and I met everybody and it was incredible. But my takeaway was, um, I won't talk a lot about the house, but the house, literally the book was like that thick. It insane. The things that it can do and whatever.
Mm.
So
And were you still dancing at this stage? Like, were you still performing?
so I had a group in the 90s, sorry, in the 2000s. No. So in the 90s called Midnight Cowboys. Here we go on another story.
Mhm.
In 1991, I think, my friends dragged me to the San Diego Gay Rodeo.
That's a thing? Is it still a thing?
Mhm. Not as much as it used to be, but bang. So, and part of it is exactly the same. Bull riding, completely the same with the dudes. And then there are the meat people.
Mm.
And at that time, which I'm sure they probably don't do anymore because it was so inhumane, but there would be this poor little goat tied to a stake, little collar, and you would have a pair of panties, and you and your partner would have to run, put the panties on the goat, and then run back.
Without getting hit with the bowler.
No, without, so it was just the timing. So the whole thing with that. So it's called goat dressing. So there was silly little stuff. And there was also another moment where there was like you as a drag queen, like just a guy in a dress with a hat and so there were all these things that had to be, and you had to get the drag queen onto the bull and the drag queen across this line with the purse and the shoes and the what. And you would try to get a man who's an actual bull rider who's not a drag queen in a dress and pumps and purse and whatever, and a bull that's not cooperating. Try to get all of that across the finish line.
Sounds like good fun.
It was, yes, it was great fun for people. The spectators had a great time. So anyway, they drugged me also into the performance tent.
Mm.
It was very sweet because there were singer, dancer, group types that were daytime accountants, daytime, whatever their day jobs. And they did this for fun. But I was a little horrified where I'm like, entertainment people too. Like, this is the best that, come on. Like, so the next year I invited 11 friends and we became the Midnight Cowboys. So we were like gay country Chippendales. And if there had been the internet, we would have been stars.
Yeah.
We
You were too early.
that's right. We headlined at every gay pride known to man. We were on the Donnie Marie show. So anyway,
Midnight
it's
Cowboys.
Cowboys. So
Because you wanted to class up the San Diego gay rodeo.
let's go bigger. So we did all kinds of fun stuff. So yes, so during that time I was still doing some stuff on the side.
Mhm.
But I also, because of Alabama and poor, I love flowers. We had beautiful flowers, so I brought flowers in because we didn't have a lot. So that made the house pretty.
Mhm.
It smelled good. So I've always had this thing about flowers. So I have a way with flowers. So with the Katzenbergs, there were 19 flower arrangements in the house. Sometimes it was 3 tulips, and sometimes it was a thing, and I had one outside that I could do anything I wanted. So when they were coming, I would go to the flower market downtown LA, buy a bazillion flowers, and then do these arrangements so that the house was designed the way that it had been designed. And whenever they came, I did floral. So she called me one day and said, "I'm coming. We don't have to do any floral. It's just gonna be me and a bunch of guys on a project."
Mhm.
Okay, great, no problem. So it was her and about a dozen men. They walked outside. She said, "Just stay in the kitchen," and they, you answer questions that come in. So one by one, they kept coming to me. Again, these are very nice people, but the true runnings of the house, it's not their job to know how the house really works.
Mhm.
So finally, she has the last guy. She brings them into the kitchen. Call me when they're gone, and she was gone. And they kept talking. The president was coming. I'm like, the president? The president of what? Because others had been there.
Oh, these were
What if?
Secret Service agents?
Yep. So this was Monday, and they're like, "What? The president, the president of the United States is coming here?
Oh, shit.
When? Friday." Wait a minute. The president of the United States is coming to this building
Mhm.
on Friday. Yep,
Clinton or Bush?
Clinton.
Oh.
So for the next 4 days, they took over the house. Downstairs, they installed, like, the secret stuff and 12 phone lines. They took over Mayor Reardon had a house next door, and I don't know who was over there, but they took over the 2 houses left and right, one for the Secret Service and one for all the medical staff. There was a SWAT thing in the driveway. There were snipers on the house. Again, we were right on the water, and it was just like, "What is happening?" So now it's Friday. Jeffrey couldn't come. His chief of staff came. At their house, there's an outside gate, a courtyard, and then house door. So I stayed in the house. Oh, they took over a mile of PCH,
Mhm.
the double tent that the limos pull in, and then here he comes. So here he comes, and the chief of staff says, "Doug, meet President. President, this is Doug Johnson. He takes care of this house and da 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 da." So he was like, "Well, hey, Doug, show me around." Well, he was in a suit and cowboy boots, and my Southern Alabama came right back out,
Right, because he's from Arkansas. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was a crazy weekend.
Yeah.
The next day, Chelsea came.
Oh, his daughter, yeah.
So it was mainly a father-daughter weekend.
Mhm.
But every president has the person. And it's not like the chief of staff, but he has a person. And the person that the drinks, the this, the that, the whatever, make sure the ties, that guy. So that guy comes to me, and he was probably my age. He was probably, I don't know, 30. And he was like, "Okay, you have to tell him no. He's a big kid. He knows he's supposed to be losing weight. He can't have sweets. Hide every sweet in this." This whole tangent of stuff. I'm like, wait,
How do you tell the president of the United
that's
States no?
exactly what I said. I'm like, you want me to tell the president no? He was like, yes. And then if he gives you trouble, tell him I said so.
Right.
I'm like, okay, no problem. So Saturday morning, Chelsea hasn't gotten there yet. President comes down, and the chef was there, and like the maid, all this stuff was happening. And he says something like, "Doug, somebody tells me you got this. Can we send all these people home and it just be you? And it's just so it can be a quiet." I'm like, "Yes, sir, of course." So I sent everybody home, free pay, bye. I'll take care of everything else. And the chef knew that, so she quickly kind of got other stuff together.
Mhm.
And then we're going to go out for dinner and whatever. Anyway, so Chelsea came. They played bog on the dining table. She had a chemistry thing that was coming up. They did stuff. He went out. I had dinner with her. She was a dance minor.
Mhm.
Who knew? So we had all that. So now it's time for her to go. And I don't know if I should tell all this, but here goes. So, when you're in the court of law and they say, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
So help you God.
Uh huh. Truth. I touched the president's underwear.
Okay.
Truth. I crawled around the president's bed. The whole truth. I washed his underwear.
Right.
His valet, his name was Leto. He'd been with like 3 other presidents. I slept with Leto in the kids' room. I gave up my room to Chelsea. Leto snored like a chainsaw, like a crazy chainsaw. So I slept none. But anyway, so Leto and I did laundry and stuff together. On Sunday morning, Chelsea was leaving early. Well, she couldn't find her chemistry book. And so I'm like, well, he was in the study last night. So maybe he took it to his room. So beside the president, I hope I don't get arrested. So beside the president, there's like a little triangular box. If he's under duress, he knocks it off and they storm the house.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So Leto goes in first. So we're crawling on our hands and knees inside by the bed of the sleeping president of the United States of America looking for a chemistry book.
Mhm.
So Leto goes first. I barely get in the door. He's already found it. Thank you, God. So I back myself out. So I get Chelsea her chemistry book, and off she goes with the Secret Service. And
It's a matter of national security.
it is. It is. And P.S., be nice to the Secret Service. So I had sent a portable television next door and food and whatever. So when everyone left, I got swag. Like I got um, a champagne bottle from Air Force One and all this stuff anyway. But it was an amazing experience. There was one time on Sunday night after she's gone, that the president wanted to see something else about the house. And so I asked him something like, how's your next week or whatever. And it had been cool because I hadn't really thought about it. Because again, they were relaxed, fun people.
Mhm.
And he said something like, well, I got a busy week. We've got that stuff going on in, I don't know what country, but he was like, and people just want me to go over there, bomb and kill a bunch of people, but I'm just trying to find a better way. And then, ding, 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 you're talking to the president of the United States. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, shit. Wow. Okay.
He's got 1,000 things going on in his brain.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, sir.
Mm.
Um,
That's great though that he had like a weekend to just kind of like
mm,
decompress because like you wonder where presidents go where they can actually like not be presidents for a few days.
correct.
Yeah.
And how you make it happen. So the next weekend, Hillary came.
Hmm.
And it was, a quarter of the pomp and circumstance, less people, less things. Um, I think it was Mary Steenburgen. Anyway, but a couple of her girls came and they just had a lovely, fun girls' weekend. It
Mhm.
was just 2 days as opposed to 3. And same thing. Like we took care of them and blah, blah, blah. And
Had any of them heard about Midnight Cowboys?
no, but Hillary said this to me. She said something like, Doug, my husband said something like, last weekend was one of his most favorite weekends as president.
Oh, that's
You
sweet.
don't know.
Sweet. Yeah.
So the next week, a package came for me, and it was an invitation to come to the Christmas tree lighting of the White House.
Oh, nice.
So I called up the Kasselbergs and said, I don't know how many times you get invited to the White House, but I'm going, please.
Mhm.
So we did. So we went to the Christmas tree lighting. We bought new suits. It rained like the end of time. We looked like drowned rats. But
In December.
in December, but I saw one of my Secret Service guys. So I went, over and like, okay, look, Chelsea used my blow dryer. Where is hers? So they did. So they took us a back way to the White House. We got to hose ourselves down and
Yeah.
get ready. And when you're about to go into the room to meet the president, they give you a card and they, you say who you are and how you know them or whatever. And then exactly, they announce you. So in front of us is a couple from some Asian country with the sash and the whole thing.
Mhm.
Like, ta-da, and here we are, I'm from Alabama. So the guy said, so he's first, Hillary's second. So uh, the guy is with the president, the wife is with Hillary. And now the guy says, and Doug Johnson from Malibu, and he barely gets it out. And the president looks, Hillary, look who it is. And they just sort of shoved these people away.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey. And then the guy at the door is like, because you have to keep it moving.
Right.
So he said, can you come back tomorrow? Well, yeah, I think probably. And so is it with the chief of staff? I knew the chief. So they invited us back the next day. So we go back the next day
Mhm.
and we're waiting in his office, the chief of staff's office, to go to the Oval Office and that whole thing. So I'm so excited. So he goes away and he comes back with socks. The cat, remember the cat?
Mhm.
So then he goes away again and he comes back and we're about to bomb Libya or some thing is happening. So damn it. So I get overwritten by government affairs or
You got
something.
bumped.
I know. Hello. But anyway, but they took us to the press room and I got pictures behind the press thing and all that sort of stuff.
That's cool. Well, that's amazing. Like from being like a house manager, you got to meet the president and Chelsea Clinton, and then go to the White House.
Yes.
You did well out of that job.
Yes. Thank you very much. And again, and I learned so many things from them.
Mm.
Um, when they were, again, I hope I'm not talking out of turn, but of course, before the president comes, they're with dogs and the bomb, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we need to look through stuff and whatever. And I'm like, well, don't touch things because that vase is like, bazillions of dollars. So if you need to touch something, let me touch it with you so that you're not oopsie and, you know,
Knocking over $10,000 vases.
yeah, pretty much so. But yeah, but they were lovely and they had twins, 14-year-old twins. And uh, I do want to tell this because it's probably an inside thing, but just to tell you behind for Jeffrey,
Mm.
uh, powerful and bazillionaire and all those sort of things. On Sunday morning, sometimes he would go to McDonald's and get McDonald's for the kids. And then in their room, they would have McDonald's together.
Mhm.
And it was like the treat that, this bazillionaire man would get in, but, like, I didn't go for him. Like, he went through the drive-through or however he got it
Yeah.
and had this moment when there was a chef downstairs that could have cooked anything, but, they had their thing. It was a really sweet, you know, really sweet thing, so
McDonald's on Sunday doesn't sound so bad.
right, right, a little something.
A little McFlurry.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
That's wild. What a job, huh?
Oh my god, and, again, these things sort of pop up. 100 years ago in this country, we had candid camera,
I remember that.
and then I forget now it's like, funniest videos or whatever. Ken, my husband and I, we feel like our life is candid camera, and we used to say, "Wait, we must be on film," and then we started saying, "How's my hair?" Because we were too close to people to, like, make acknowledgement,
Mhm.
because clearly we were on camera because this could not be real, and then now we don't even say anything, we just sorta, like, touch our hair weird.
Just like, am I on? What's going on?
And we know for the other one to, like, just look around because there's a little person singing in Swahili or something so insane that you can't even imagine that it's happening.
Well, I think that all the time. Like I've only lived here for about 18 months and this city is batshit crazy.
Even the grocery store,
The
right?
the people you meet, I saw Lawrence Fishburne like Morpheus, like from the Matrix movies, and I mean he's a acclaimed actor. He's done 1,000 great movies, and there he was just like getting groceries at the store. And it was like, and it's just like everything's going on in this city, and you feel like you're on candid camera, like the rest of the world's watching.
That's right, and good or bad, that you're like, "Okay, should we run? Like, what's happening? What's happening?"
The fires in January.
That's right. Oh god. Like,
Jesus Christ.
literally,
Yeah.
oh my god. So so that ends,
Hmm.
and I've always done some choreography, I've always done some additional stuff, like, again, just trying to make a living. On my resume, the very bottom, the skill area, the very last thing, the last 3 words that was the last 2 words said, "Pig calling."
Interesting.
Just 'cause, you wanna stand out, with a and so, I swear, like, every single audition that was, in person, people would be like, "Pig calling?" I don't wanna do the microphone because it's too loud. You would say, "Sue," at the top of your and pigs would come running because they knew that call was your thing.
Really?
Yeah, but it makes you stand out. It
You
makes you
could
be different.
you can call pigs and they'll come to you?
Yes. Well, because when you've established that "suey"
Mhm,
is the call for dinner, they just know the sound and will, you know,
mhm.
it's time to come around.
Yeah, because you train them.
That's right. That's right.
Pigs can be trained.
Huh. They are more like dogs than they scary. It's a little harder to eat bacon when you get to know them.
Never name your animals.
No. 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 No.
I wanna live on a farm at some stage. That's my American dream, I think, at some stage is to, like, move to Wyoming or Montana and, like, have, like, a ranch and actually, like, live on the land, like, live off the land. Like, that's a thing for me, I think.
Don't do
Don't
it.
do it? I can't stand LA.
Well, here's the thing about LA.
I need more fresh air.
Well, yes, but depending on where you are in your life, there's so many opportunities here. We live in a little subdivision area down by the 10 freeway. We know every neighbor. We walk our dogs. You know, we have people over. It feels like normality. It feels like suburbia, that it can be like we have keys to our neighbors' houses. They have keys, that sort of stuff. It feels, but again, we've been there for 28 years. So,
You guys are safe hands.
yeah, we got you. We got you. But, just looking for other opportunities. And so, again, I have started everything. So now I have a company. So
Yeah, let's
now,
talk about that. Like, how did you get into this space?
so now, okay. So now, all right. So I'm trying to produce. Okay, or what am I doing? Because through the whole Midnight Cowboy thing, I had produced all of that. And we had done major thing again, television. We had done all kinds of giant events.
And were you choreographing that too?
Mhm. So
That
I was
that's
learning,
huge.
yeah, so I was learning, but also directing and interfacing with lighting and, I even at the Alliance, when I was doing shows back in Atlanta, I got to be friends with tech people. They're like, what do you do?" I wanted to learn, not just be on stage, but how is that created? Because I loved the whole process.
Mhm.
So I can now say I see entertainment in 360 degrees. There's probably not much that I haven't done, just having to.
Producing, directing, and performing is such a privilege
beyond.
because you really do, you get the full experience of how to put everything together, and you really get to understand how painful it can be.
Yes, and you actually said it out loud, "I want to do this," and now you're actually doing this. Sometimes you make more money than you expect, and sometimes you make less money than you expect, which is one of the reasons I started my company. 2 reasons. 1, I was just tired of the up and down, money, no money thing, and I just got tired of working for crazy people. People that people that yell and scream, and they want you to go be great. And it doesn't matter if you're an entertainer or not, we all, no matter what our jobs are, it's like if you're in a position of power and you don't nurture people, what's wrong with you? Right? When you need a favor
You know?
and you've yelled and screamed and treated people like dirt, and now you need, can you stay late? Oh, sorry. No, so people won't do no.
Mhm.
But when you treat people like family, when you treat people well and you nurture them, then they've got your back. Then it feels like family. It creates an environment that creativity can happen in.
You gotta build a team.
That's right. And a team that wants to be there as opposed to a team that is just there for the money. So here I am trying to build a company from nowhere. And back then we had AOL dial up.
Did you ask Jeffrey Katzenberg a few tips on how to start a company?
Well, no, that was too far. But certainly he had given me a lot of learning tools of how to do what to do and, and again, I listened how to speak to people and uh, how to treat people. They're also really not big drinkers and just, I watch everything and how it's done. And so AOL had chat rooms,
Mhm.
and there were event chat rooms, and I had a little baby website and, telling people about my website and blah, 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 blah. And so I'm talking to Ryan in a room, and now Ryan is out of the events room. And back then on AOL, you'd be like, "Where's Ryan?" Well, Ryan is now in, not that you would ever go to gay men, but now Ryan is in Men for Men. So I'm like, okay, let's try that angle.
I'm trying to
Oh,
bring back the Midnight Cowboys.
exactly. Hey, I'm a gay business owner, blah, 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 all that. So and sometimes people would fuck off, and sometimes people would be like, okay, what's your stuff or blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say the name because I don't know how much of his people know, but once upon a time, someone said, what's your website in this chat room?
Mhm.
Hang on a second. Call me at this number tomorrow. Okay. So I called the number and it was a major casino in Las Vegas,
Oh, wow.
special events. I'm like, I'm calling for blah, blah, blah. They're like, okay, hold just a moment. Hi, hey, it's Doug from, oh yeah, hey, look, I've got this high roller thing coming up. I think it'd be perfect.
Bang.
So, and then this is like major. And so I created they sent me a video of uh, not Vietnamese, maybe it's anyway, an Asian talent.
Mhm.
His blocking stayed the same. Songs were the same, not their dancers, but my dancers. So I created a show. He did exactly the same thing he did in a show currently, but just now in Vegas with my peeps.
Mhm. Wow,
So
so that was your company's first job?
well, the first job at that level, like we'd done a few other like bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah. When I first moved here, 1990 was the uh, big time denim and diamonds in the whole country western bars around the United States. So when I moved here, someone recommended me to Along K. Mary, who was one of the premier event companies here in the city. And line dancing was a big giant thing at parties.
Mhm.
So I'm at Universal on stage teaching 5,000 people how to line dance
Oh my god.
for these. So again, I'd been doing for the other jobs, I'd been doing other event things or uh, putting costumes on people and have them stand at the front door of a bar mitzvah or whatever the crap would be, or doing little choreography stuff. So now we're doing other things. I'd met someone else at the same company because my guy that was there went to a different company, and the person that was there then gave me an opportunity in 2003 to do New Year's.
Oh, that's huge.
Yes. So, because of a recommendation from someone, I've been producing New Year's for the MGM Corporation. This is our 21st year.
That's incredible, what a run.
Yes,
Yeah.
the amazing Don Hume. still out there, legend. She was Steve Wynn's event person forever, ever,
Mhm.
ever, ever, till finally, when he was gone. But again, people open doors, people find ways, again, in Alabama, God will help me. God helps those who help themselves,
Right?
so I've been trying to help myself forever. So, entertainment company, New Year's growing, and I became a corporation in 2001,
Mhm.
and I have offices in Vegas, and I have cruise ships out with Royal Caribbean that have my shows on it, and we've done things with Celebrity and Princess and all those sort of cruise lines, and I'm at a point in my life that I can say, not necessarily every day, but almost every day of the year, someone somewhere in the world is watching something I created.
That's something, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very special thing.
So that's I mean, there's nothing like live performance. Like
No.
I'm very like I make a lot of TV shows and stuff, but I actually do a lot of events every year and I
Mm,
just get up and talk about
right.
all the crazy stuff. It's like part stand-up comedy and part pictures and video and
Keynote conference.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And people laugh and they have a good time and everyone's having a drink. So it's a blast. But that like the lights and the music and the dancing, like that's you're putting it all together. Like that's a big because I saw on your bio too, you worked with like Jennifer Lopez and a lot of these, and they put on, like, big, big
Right.
shows.
So for me, for a lot of celebrity types, which NDA won't let me talk a lot about stuff,
Mm,
but sometimes we're doing a piece of their puzzle. Sometimes we're doing like for J Lo, sorry,
mm,
saying it out loud. When her kids were young, I never meant to be a kid event person, but when celebrities call, you go.
right.
During COVID, I can't say their names, but starts with a K. We did private parties for a family in this state,
Mhm.
and it was lovely to see. It's great to see celebrities without the paparazzi.
Yeah, just being normal.
Yeah, being parents, being wives, husbands, mothers, dog, whatever.
Mhm,
It's like, oh, that's cool. Still, still always immaculate and put together,
mhm,
but they're over at the slime table also. It's cool to get to sort of see that
mhm,
and get to meet people in a different way. Like again, I spent personal alone time with a president. I mean, it's
mhm,
not just shaking hands in some lineup with someone. And
mm.
we've done things for royals around the world. And one of the Prince of Saudi um, at Bellagio one year, we had always gotten beckoned to tables to say, we want to do this. We want to have these, and things would never happen. And so this one particular year, someone beckoned me and business cards and whatever. And 2 days after New Year's, my phone rang, and it was the handler
Mhm.
of the prince who said, "We want to do that show again in LA." When? On the 6th. It was January 2nd. So I'm like, "Wait a minute. You want to do the show we just did at Bellagio in LA?" "Oh, yeah." "What part?" "All of it."
In 4 days notice,
Uh-huh.
no venue.
70 well, no, they had the venue.
Yeah.
70 performers. 70, 7-0. So I'm like, to my staff, "Get calling." So it's January, no one had work. So everyone was like, "Hell yeah, let's go." So we did a 70-person show for 4 people. The prince, his person, his wife, her person, and then 2 tables of nannies and handlers and securities and whatever.
Mhm,
And you have to be careful. You have to be respectful. You have to be cultural, you know?
mhm,
So we were told, "Do not look at her. It's inappropriate."
mhm.
So after the first number, word came that she wanted to see me because 'cause I'd met them and they'd introduced I was a show producer and whatever. And so the handler was like, "Go." Like, "Okay." So walk out, you're like, "Your Highness." I mean, like,
Yeah.
so she was
Do you look right out there? Do you shake their hand?
exactly. It's like,
What's the
"You
protocol?
Percy, what am I doing? Oh my god." So I'm like, um, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "No one's looking at me." I'm like, "We were told it was inappropriate." And so she smiled and she looked at her husband. She said, "There are 2 royals here. Let me have it." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna let you have it." So they're laughing, and I go to the back, and the handler was very, "What did she say?" She said, "Let me have it." He was like, "Okay, go."
Yeah.
So we let them have it.
That's wild.
We also have a shadow art show called L'Ombre,
Mhm,
and for the not the current king, but the old king of Saudi Arabia, when they, opened their Western, I think it was technical college in Saudi, they did a giant thing, this big kickoff, and we were invited to come to perform
Mhm. In Riyadh?
in the desert,
Oh, wow.
surrounded by the military.
Mhm.
They built this structure thing, and so Leombre is shadow art, bodysuits or briefs that are very tight and little beanies so that you're just a body. There's no sticky out parts,
Mhm.
no hair, and you roll all over each other to create shapes or spell words. So before we started anything, I'm like, I didn't go, my team went, but we were like, we need to see um, yeah,
The teaser or trailer?
no,
Mm.
we need to see the person, which the name is not going to come to me, but anyway, the person in charge that knows all about the protocol for us. And
Mhm.
so we're like, okay, before we start getting undressed
Mhm.
and putting our stuff on, just reminding you again,
Mhm.
we're going to be in unitards. We're going to be rolling around on each other and blah, blah, blah. He was like, yes, we're aware. I'm like, okay, and we're good. Yep. So
No one was arrested?
no one was arrested or beheaded or whatever. So we do the show, and it was exactly like Caligula or something you would see where everyone looks at the king.
Mhm.
There's no applause. And it's literally like
Yeah.
you know, kill them, whatever. So he's applaud. So everyone and people were crying because it was the first time ever that men and women had been on stage together.
Oh, wow.
Because we were in shadow, we weren't we were cartoons,
Mhm.
so we weren't real. So it was a big thing, but
'Cause no one could see the shapes of the people, right? And because you were shadows, because
we were shadows,
you
but
couldn't tell?
sorta,
Yeah.
'cause, we all have parts, so there were little parts, but
Mhm.
yeah, but crazy.
What year was that?
2008,
Oh, wow.
2009, maybe, something like that, but yeah.
So I was living in Dubai for a bit, and I was in and out of Saudi Arabia quite often. I was
Mhm.
gonna do a few big projects there, but it's a wild country, like, and, yeah, I mean, it's not for everyone, but, I ended up driving. I rented a car and drove, like, 10,000 miles all around Saudi Arabia and just loved it.
What year?
This was, 20 this was January 2020.
Wow.
Yeah, because the tour I was working with, like, Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Culture, and they really liked my shows that I make, and they're like, "We wanna tell people more about Saudi Arabia. Can you, come make a show?" And we were chatting about it, and I was like, "Well, I gotta come see the place, like, I gotta get some ideas, right?"
Sure.
So, yeah, again, January is a quiet month in entertainment, so I just went to over there, rented a car, and just drove all around, and it's just a visually spectacular place. I mean, some places are a little bit more liberal, some places are a little bit more conservative, so you have to kind of manage how you talk and things like that. But it's spectacular. I love it.
And definitely a country on the move,
Right? Yeah.
and hopefully we'll become more like Dubai and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Dubai is on my bucket list of the things that I would like to do.
Well, so I've been in and out of Dubai and living in Dubai off and on for since 2018, and it's interesting. It's a lot like Vegas. It's very showy.
Mhm. Hence
Um,
why I would love to be there because people with money live there.
and
And
the shows.
yes, please.
Yeah. But if you really wanna kind of come to grips with Arabian culture, I highly, highly recommend Oman. I filmed in Oman, a few years ago in 2017 or 2018, and Oman is Arabian culture without the Las Vegas bit. And so if you do wanna kinda connect with that part of it, I highly recommend Oman because, again, it's very, easy to travel to. There's no difference between how they treat men and women for the most part, but Oman is quite lovely as well. Yeah.
Definitely on the bucket list.
Yeah, it's a good part of the world. I mean, I was there for a bit. I mean, obviously right now with the stuff going on in Iran, it's a little scary, but
Yes.
but as a hub, because I was traveling like 250, 300 days a year, so being kind of like in the middle in the Middle East was super easy to get around. A couple hours to Africa, a couple hours to Asia. It's not like you're doing these 16-hour,
Right.
around the
London.
world. Yeah.
Right. We did, one of the shows I did for Royal, we met in Dubai. So we had rehearsals in Florida and then met in Dubai. And we were at the mall
Mhm.
and we did two separate times in Dubai. And the first time we were there, when you see people that you hug them.
Mhm.
But there are little warnings at the door, no touching. And instantly people were honest, but they weren't disrespectful. They were, or They weren't unkind. They were like, "Excuse me."
Mhm.
You know, we 2 years later, it was different.
Yeah.
Like, shorts were shorter, things were different.
Mhm.
But this time when we were there, we sailed from Southampton to Singapore. So, going down the strait and all of that, Somalian pirates, all those fears,
Mhm.
special forces got on when we stopped in whatever ports. And at night, you had to close your windows, and it was kinda, we're in a like a 4,500 passenger ship.
Mhm.
Doop de doo. Oh,
A little tense.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's happening at nighttime here? But we got off in Jordan to Petra,
Mhm.
you know, like,
Petra's
oh
spectacular.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Just I I got paid to see the world.
Mhm.
In 2004, the guy that I mentioned earlier, John, sadly died of a brain tumor.
Jeez.
And at his funeral, my husband and I had been going to Europe for a decade. Well, at his funeral, my husband said, "Baby, I'm going to Europe this year. I hope you come with me." So I gave him a trip to Paris as like a thing. So we went away for 2 weeks. So from 2004, I had to get a new passport because I filled mine up. Mm. And again, what a blessing to get paid to see the world and the opportunities that come with that and the things that you get to see and things that, we try not to be tourist.
Mhm.
We ask concierge when we go, "Where do you go?" We want to immerse ourselves culturally
Mhm.
that so that we can see what's real. Sometimes the food is extraordinary. Sometimes the food is unexpected and not exactly to our liking.
Yeah.
You just sort of move it around on the plate. Don't want to be disrespectful, but that's still moving. I can't quite.
Have you been to China yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as you probably know as well, clients take you out and they order for you.
And they wanna drink heavy with you.
I don't drink,
Smart man.
especially in Japan.
Yeah.
So I've got, I've got sake, sliding it over to my husband and taking his glass, or it's, it's on the floor or in my napkin, or,
Mm.
again, you try not to be, I always toast and drink a little, but
Well, so I lived in Shanghai for 18 years, and the drinking culture there is quite competitive. So, like, anytime I was going out for a business dinner or something like that, I would always, show up and I would put my car keys on the table, and that got me out of the drinking for the most part.
oh, because that's sort of a sign that,
I'm
you're
driving
driving.
tonight and I don't wanna participate in that. So I did that, and sometimes I would bring my car keys even if I was taking a taxi.
Smart.
Yeah, because like, I enjoy a drink in the evening sometimes, but I didn't wanna, like, have to fucking pound 20
Right.
whiskeys just to prove I'm a man or
Right.
something like that.
Well, and also depending on if you're trying to do a little business, like, hello, can we stay in this world? Yeah.
Maintain some level of
Right.
coherence, thinking.
Oh my gosh. Shanghai was the first country I directed a show that came out of Shanghai that went, or out of China that went to Navy Pier.
Mhm.
Shanghai was the first time ever because of architecture. I was like, whoa, America, you got to get it together.
Way behind.
And then when I went to Dubai, it's like, well, it's over. I mean, what can compete with that?
Yeah.
Like
In China, the infrastructure is the thing that really sets it apart, like, because like, you can take a train from Shanghai to Beijing in 4 hours.
speed train.
Yeah, and it's just like flying, like, I think my last 4 years in China, I think I flew almost never, like, I took trains
Right.
everywhere because dealing with airports was miserable.
Right.
Yeah,
Was when you got that bazillion of people trying to network through, and
yeah.
my husband is flight attendant for Delta, so
Okay.
we're very lucky with flights and fly free and,
Yeah.
whatever, and things happen in a good way, but airports, when they work, it's great. Well, it's like the 405. When it works, when the freeways work, it's great, and when it doesn't, it's sadness.
You should see how many, I have a lot of podcast guests that come up from, like, Orange County and Irvine and stuff like that, and they bring, like, their husbands or their wives or their kids so they can ride in the Diamond Line.
That's hilarious. But I get it, because yes.
'Cause the 405 is great when it works, and when it's not, you better hope you're in the Diamond Lane.
That's exactly right.
So, okay, so, like, you started off performing, I mean, you had a brief interlude as a chicken plucker at 4 years old, but
Yeah.
then you kinda got into performing, which was great.
Yes.
Do you miss performing? Because it seems like you built this whole entertainment company, you incorporated in 2001, you're producing, you're directing, you're putting these amazing shows out into the world on cruise ships in Vegas, for the major celebrities all around the world, but do you miss being on stage yourself?
So, honest, nothing is ever like performing.
That's so good, isn't it?
You know, I love producing. I love seeing something that I created out of my head come to life, but it's a different part in your body. It's a different part in your soul or whatever.
Mhm.
But that being on stage and it being live and it being instant, there really is something that's unexplainable if you've never had that.
Mhm.
I also love that it's instant, if it's live.
You know right away.
Laughter or not, booze or not, or whatever it is, yeah, you get to carve your craft quickly. Otherwise, you're out, you know? And I've tried to use that
Mhm.
as a producer, like I said, I got tired of working with crazy people, I pay people in time. I create work environments that people are free to mess up because I believe that's where greatness comes from. I call the show the baby. And much like real children, when parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles all help raise the child is well rounded. Same thing for shows. If
Mhm.
everyone can sort of put their little spin on something, it makes the show far better than just some one myopic little nothing.
It's well said, yeah. Yeah. You need those inputs coming from all the different things because everyone's seeing the same performance from a different angle. And of course, people should have the freedom to chime in.
That's right.
You don't have to take the notes, but at least have the chance to say a few things because we're all working on it, right?
Truly, you don't want bobbleheads around you. You want people to say, like, "Are you sure lime green jumpsuits? Have you lost your mind?" Or whatever. Argue with me respectfully.
Mhm.
Tell me why I've lost my mind and ran down a rabbit trail. Of course, everything I do is gold. But those moments that we find, again, greatness can happen if we're willing to be flexible, if we're willing to try things. I have amazing choreographers, Kevin and Marcel Wilson. They changed my life.
Mhm.
I'd hired every Emmy choreographer known to man years and years ago who were great with cameras,
Mhm.
but live in the round or whatever. These two men take my little pea brain ideas and blow them up, and that's one of my favorite things, no matter if it's music or whatever. Nothing is nothing is alive until it's sang, or nothing, food is just ingredients until we cook them. We have to let it marinate and have something special happen.
Mhm.
So in showbiz, if you can surround yourself by people that are more talented than you, which I pray for our government sometime, but that's a different story.
Different story.
But, you know, if you can rely on those around you to help keep you real.
Mhm.
I love Michael Jackson. I love his music. Man in the Mirror has been in a million shows because I try to use that for my own mantra
Mm.
of life. But God bless Michael Jackson. He needed non-bobbleheads around him. Maybe he would still be alive today. He would look different if he didn't have bobbleheads. I actually have a Michael Jackson story.
Oh, do you?
I do.
They're gonna lay it on me?
I am. We performed for Michael Jackson.
Oh.
I think.
Oh, really?
I believe it was Along Came Mary, but one of the amazing people that we perform for or create for, we were performing outside by a pool, and there was a tent at the other end of the pool. Okay, great. So we went, we sound checked, we blocked the show, whatever. We went and had dinner and got ready, and we came back, and we were told that, and we didn't know at that time, because so many times we don't know who we're performing for until we show up. So we showed up, but still didn't know who it was. So now it's time to perform, and they said, "Okay, you're performing for Michael Jackson and his kids,
Oh, shit.
but they're gonna be in a tent." This was during the age when they were young, they used to wear the mask.
Right, so they wouldn't be photographed by
Correct.
paparazzi and stuff like that?
So we performed for a tent. Food went in and out of the tent.
Mhm.
We never saw them.
Was it like a see-through tent? Like, how did they
They
see the show?
I don't I'm assuming they could see out, but we could not see in.
A tent that was a two-way mirror.
Maybe, maybe, but it's just like, "What?"
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, anyway, so we performed for a tent
Mhm.
with no applause. So the numbers would end,
Silence.
birds chirping, it's like, so we finally were like, "Let's just applaud for ourselves as we transition to the next," because that was brutal
Mhm.
for nothing, or, like, those little transitions, just next, just keep them rolling. It's
Did you ever see the documentary about Michael Jackson's last tour just before he passed? Like, there was a lot like, they made, like, a 90-minute
yes,
documentary about
what's the name of that one?
can't remember.
That
Yeah.
Pose
Yeah,
was
yeah.
yes.
So, I mean, I watched it, and I just remember how totally detail oriented he was and how much of an absolute ruthless professional he was with the dance numbers and his own movement. And not only the movement of all the secondary dancers and stuff like the background dancers and stuff like that, but like, if he watched your show, he would have notes. Like, how cool would that have been if like Michael Jackson came back after and is like, I really love the show. And by the way, I thought this person could be like a little more like that. And like, can you imagine like getting feedback from Michael Jackson, like a god?
Truly, truly. So we were Michael Jackson adjacent. One of his choreographers, Travis Payne, legendary, in Atlanta, while I was at Six Flags, a young lady named Krista Jackson, who is my child.
Hmm.
She was 16, I was 25. She wanted to go to a performing arts school in Atlanta, but out of county was like a $10,000-$15,000 a semester thing. So little family drama. So she came to live with me and other gay men in my house in Atlanta,
Hmm.
Monday through Friday, and went to Northside High School, where Travis Payne, Michael Jackson choreographer, also went to high school. They were buds, and we got to know Travis, and I danced with Travis in the Miss Georgia pageant. Don't judge me. He was crazy talented and could jump like he had rubber in his legs, just crazy. And so I said to the choreographer at the time, "It's like, I'm not doing that. You're gonna have to give me something else because mine does not look like that."
All right.
But crazy talented. And again, another person from the South that had an opportunity and took it and ran with it, where magical things happen,
Hmm.
you know,
This town.
being ready for your opportunity,
Yeah.
being ready to seize it. So anyone out there that's listening that wants to produce a show in Vegas or wants to produce a show in, Dubai,
Hmm.
I'll put your face on the marquee. I said that to the prince before, but they can't be involved with sin. They can own real estate, but they can't do the showbiz thing. I'm like, there's no ego for me. I'll put a throne on stage. It doesn't matter. You can sit in it and we will Hail Mary you before we start the show.
As long as it's entertaining. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
As long as it sells, baby.
I'm so lucky that um, there's a spectacular woman, um, a Disney woman. Her name is Barnett Ritchie. Barnett created Fantasmic. And 100 years ago, I would go see my friends perform at El Capitan on Hollywood Boulevard. Have you ever been to El Capitan on Hollywood Boulevard?
I have not, but I've driven past it.
You should go see a movie there.
Okay.
It's like an old vaudevillian movie palace that Disney has, and they do premieres there.
Hmm.
Spectacular. Anyway, so I said 100 years ago, which we have to be careful what we say. I said, I want to be Barnett Ritchie. And kind of technically, I became Barnett Ritchie.
Who's Barnett Ritchie?
She's a director choreographer who created Fantasmic at Disneyland and other legendary projects for Disney. And she also did the shows at El Capitan.
Oh, the live shows.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I do those now and produce for Disney. Except she had cast of 26, 3 months of rehearsal and 3 months of run. I have Elsa and Anna.
Oh, from Frozen.
Yeah, I have like 2 people sometimes, just because it's a different time. The budget that they spend, they don't do anymore. But I should have been clear to the universe, God, Jesus, Buddha, whoever's listening, that I want to be Barnett Ritchie, but I want to be Barnett Ritchie with her budgets. So we have to be careful what we say so that we're clear.
You need those
about
big
things.
shows.
That's right, that we're asking for. But I'm grateful to people at Disney. I'm going to say his name out loud, James Wood. God.
Mhm.
Um,
James Wood, the actor, or James Wood, the Disney executive that no one knows about?
yes, that one.
James Wood's awesome.
Best James Wood is all. Yes, him too. But James Wood, I had met and known forever. And over lunch one day, we discovered that we were both from Alabama.
Oh, shit.
Grew up 40 miles apart. It's a small world after.
I like LA because no one's from here and everyone comes here with like some kind of dream. Like, it's a city of dreamers, right?
That's exactly right.
and some
Your dream.
and some people don't have the stick-to-itiveness or the discipline to see that through, or they don't have the hard work. They're not willing to work that as hard. But you do find people who are totally switched on and ready to really work, and when it works for them, it's just fucking so good to see, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
Auditions, I love and hate when we produce them as well. Because I'm sure for you, this is a town of no. No, 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 no. Too tall, too fat, too skinny, too white, too black. No, 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 no. You're hired.
Too Canadian.
Exactly. You're hired.
Yeah.
Now the show's over. Guess what? No, 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 too tall, too fat, too la, 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 whatever. So at every audition that we have, I swear to God, this is the truth. I say, you're all flowers.
Mhm.
You're all beautiful. But today I need roses and some of you are gardenias. It's not because you're not talented. It's just in all of it that we're looking for today, you're not the right fit because so many times people come here and get their feelings hurt or become discouraged because of the no.
Mhm.
If you're doing your work, if you're taking class, if you're working out, if you're doing all those things to prep for your opportunity, then what else can you possibly do?
Did you get a lot of no's when you were doing the circuit out here as a
Oh my
performer?
God. Yes.
So you have a much more insightful look now at casting because now you're in a position to cast and you've been
Yes.
through all that shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how, and again, things are different, doing your own self tapes and, there are fewer and fewer. We do cast a few people from, Instagram or whatever, but I want to see people in person because I'm going to touch you. This is the important part.
Mhm.
Who are you? How are you? I'm going to tell a secret. When you come to an audition of mine, if I get your resume inside the room and there's a big red B or a big red T, you're out
Oh,
because the person that gave you your materials out there that you thought was a nobody is a somebody and you cause trouble or you're a bitch
mhm.
out there. And out there is who you really are.
That's the truth.
That's how you're gonna treat other performers, your dresser, your hotel, whatever it is, that's who you are. Don't come in the room and trying to be all smiley, smiley, nice, nice.
Mhm.
I also it's interesting to me when people do come in the room and they're late.
Mhm.
We've all been late, but I would run in like my ass was on fire and find somebody's eyes, "Sorry," and jump in. But I watch people on the phone, drinking their Starbucks, rifling through their bag.
Mhm.
I'm like, "Y Who is that?" Because they are so out. Because that's how they're gonna be.
They're gonna bring all that shitty energy into your
That's
family.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
The dancer not so long ago said to me, "You're really mean." Because for the 3rd day of her being late, I said, "You can't be late anymore, sweetie,
Mm.
or I'm gonna have to fire you." Because I also want to train kids, because for bigger jobs,
Mhm.
show up late to your Beyoncé rehearsal.
Mhm.
"Oh,
See
oh,
how that
hi, I'm
works.
sorry you're late." Well, then just, you couldn't be here on it's not important to you, don't come.
Mhm.
You know? For whatever our jobs are, we have and yes, sometimes the 4:05 isn't our friend, but you know what? Other people got here on time that used the 4:05,
Mhm.
but they planned ahead. If you're on time, you're late.
Mhm.
You have to be early.
I have a good rule. So whenever I have a meeting with someone in town I've got a meal or something like that, I always show up an hour early, and then I just walk around and grab a coffee and, do window shop or whatever, and then bam, 5 minutes before it's go time, I show up and usually there first or whatever, but at least I'm not late, right? And
That's right.
yeah, get there an hour early, find parking, grab a coffee.
You're in the
Don't be fucking late.
That's right, and you're in the right mindset.
Yeah.
You're not stressed, you're not going crazy because, you look like an insane person, you're sweaty, because 'cause you've been running or whatever,
Mhm.
and you're supposed to be the chill dude or the chill girl to get this part, and now, because you didn't plan ahead,
Mhm.
you fucked it up.
So when are we gonna co-produce the, 20th anniversary of the Midnight Cowboys?
Let's go, my friend.
Or the 30th anniversary, I can't remember when it was in the '90s,
Let's
right?
let's go. Dreams come true for everybody.
I don't think I've ever worn cowboy boots.
Stop it. Seriously? You're from Canada.
I know, but I'm from Toronto. It's like a big city. We're not cowboy. Like out west, maybe Calgary, like Edmonton. They have like the Calgary Stampede. I don't know if they have I'm not sure if they have like a gay angle to it at some stage, but the San Diego story was pretty funny.
So when you have nothing else to do and you are driving somewhere in America or somewhere and you see Boot Barn, I'm not advertising for Boot Barn, but wherever it is,
Mhm,
they have to be new. They can't be used.
mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
because they melt to your feet. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
And when find find a pair of boots and it'll be life changing for you. I'm telling you, they are they're kind of cool.
You'll be the first person I send that photo to.
Please do. Please do.
So are you totally done with performance now? Like you're just producing, directing?
Nope, I'm not.
Do you ever sneak into like something and
So here's what I've said to I have an agent that sends me for other stuff, producer, creator, whatever type. But if something I don't wanna audition for days, is that sort of thing. But if there's something that has my name on it and you can direct book me, I'm in,
Mhm.
you know? So,
What kind of stuff would that be like?
well, did you ever see the movie Sweet Home Alabama?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I was the associate choreographer with my good friend in Atlanta, Karen Beyer.
Mhm.
So I taught Reese Witherspoon how to two-step. Hey, y'all.
Oh, wow. She's amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
and sweet and easy and Southern and all the good stuff from Tennessee.
I loved her when she played, Johnny Cash's wife, June,
Article.
she won the Oscars. That
Uh-huh,
was one of my favorite movies. Yeah.
as it should be.
Johnny Cash is awesome.
Again, people that are really talented, I also find that people that are really talented are usually really nice.
Mm.
You know, it's marginal people that are the yeller and the screamer types.
Mhm.
We've gotta keep it together so that, you know, we're doing kindness and stuff.
Yeah, I watched the new movie with, Timothy Chalamet, the new Bob Dylan movie, and, there's a bunch of, what's his face, shows up a couple times in it, and that kinda got me back into and listening to Johnny Cash again. Johnny Cash kind of pops into the movie a few times. It was beautiful.
Hey, here's a crazy question I'm gonna ask Ashley on air.
Mhm.
What happens if I need to go to the restroom?
Yeah, you just go, we take a break, yeah.
Can we do
I
that?
just snip it, yeah, go for it. It's just right through the door. And we're back in. How you doing?
Doing better now, much better now.
That's great. So look, I mean, where do you see yourself going in the next like 5 or 10 years? I mean, you kind of came out here as a performer. Now you've built up this amazing entertainment company. You get to produce and direct all these younger talents. You've got this amazing list of clients who trust you and trust your vision. You're working with these great choreographers who are young and connected to like everything that's happening that's fresh. Is this just it? Like, are you just in cruise control for the next 5 or is there anything that you still wanna do or try?
Never cruise control,
Never
always
cruise
something.
control.
So I mentioned Disney. So 10 years ago, I had to create a new vision board
Mhm.
because mine came true.
Oh, that's great.
How many people get to say that? And in 2003 to 2002, I'd created 15 shows probably for Disney. But I've said to my James Wood guy, hey, look, before I die and leave this planet, I've got to tell Mickey Mouse what to do.
Oh, yeah.
And so that year for the holiday at El Cap, we did a sort of a singy dancy show the first time since Barnett Ritchie had not been there.
Mhm.
And I gave them options and they selected an option. As they were telling me the option that they'd selected, they said, we're actually going to add two more cast members to the show. We'll be adding Mickey and Minnie Mouse to the show. So I got to tell Mickey and Minnie Mouse what to do. So life is good. So that was number one on my bucket list. And now number one on my bucket list for anyone that's listening is Radio City.
Radio City Music Hall
I've
in New
interfaced
York.
I've interfaced with the Rockettes a million times. We just did a show for Amazon.
Mhm.
They're up fronts in New York in May, and I hired 20 current and or former Rockettes, and we created this amazing thing for um, one of their special projects. So I'm ready for their call at any moment. Ha
Mhm.
ha.
Right.
Um, because again, it's a legacy that's from back when, and things need to be treated with care
Mhm.
so you don't fuck it up. And
Legacy is important.
legacy is very important. It was a show in Vegas called Jubilee,
Mhm.
and they didn't take it carefully, and they fucked it up, and now it's gone
Forever.
forever.
Yeah.
And in Vegas as well, it's like there's one left show that's there with a showgirl. It's like, has the showgirl died in Vegas?
Mhm.
It is wonderful, what's happening in Vegas. Entertainment is changing and sports is growing,
Mhm.
but sadly, as sports seems to be going up, it feels like entertainment is not.
Right, they've got the Raiders are there now, and they host some basketball tournaments there, professional basketball, and it's,
Dragon Knights,
yeah.
they just knocked down Tropicana. They're going to build their baseball stadium there. Again, it's all great things. The city will be growing and moving and whatever,
Mhm.
but it's Cirque and it's all the residencies
Mhm.
and $750 for a ticket.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What happened to the $50 ticket? What happened to the normal people rate?
Mhm.
So we'll see what the future. So for anyone's listening, we'll show it Vegas already. Um,
Vegas can't lose its status as the entertainment capital of the United States, and it can't not be affordable for everyone that can't afford to go to New York.
correct. And That is seem to be happening, and, and the weekend Californias are still going and all of that,
Mhm.
but everybody should make money. We should all be able to make money, but, at some moment, come on,
Yeah.
when your bottle of water costs 14.50 in your room, maybe $10, you should have stopped at $10.
I was out having coffee with someone the other day, and my coffee was $20. Someone else paid for it, but I couldn't believe that that was actually a thing. $20 coffee at a hotel that will not be mentioned.
Wow. We got married at the Biltmore downtown.
Oh,
We
nice.
went to one of the marches that was downtown, and then we swung by the Biltmore to have a drink. My husband had a old fashioned or whatever, and I had a Coke. $47. $47.
Yeah.
Like, when the person said 47, I'm sure my face, like, I have a great poker face
Mhm.
because of negotiating and stuff, but I'm sure it cracked and fell off. Where I was like, but I looked across the room to my husband, and he was like, "Just wait. Just wait." Yeah. Yeah. We'll get them back. Right. That's right. Oh my gosh.
So, what's the name of your production company that you've been running since 2001?
Entertainment Plus Productions
Mm.
at E Plus Productions on Insta. We, again, we cater to a little of everybody.
Mhm.
Where cruise ships, theme parks, all that, social parties, weddings, all those special people,
Mhm.
corporate clients. Sometimes it's Disney, bring your children to watch our show, and then we're half naked doing burlesque. Don't bring your children.
That sounds like fun.
That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're asking about the future. I I think when we stop growing, we die.
100%. He's
You know?
move or be killed.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And my grandmother 100 years ago said, and not to be unkind, but in her southern wisdom said, "Don't sit down. You get fat and you lose your mind." Right in that rural, wisdom, that's it. We have to keep going. We have to, because if we don't keep going, then the body's like, okay, why?
Mhm.
And even with the mind and stuff. So, I want new challenges, new opportunities, and I'm very lucky of the people. And you've done the Grammy celebration for 16 years. Like when we get clients, we keep them.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm not doing the Kiwanis Club, and nothing that's wrong with that, but we're working at a really superior level, and I love that because money makes things magical that you can do.
Mhm.
You get to touch people in a different way, but it doesn't mean that we also still don't give back and do things for free, which is part of the future as well. I just spoke at a dance convention in Vegas because I think it's important to make sure that people come up old school as opposed to just on their phones,
Right. Yeah.
because it's it's easier now to find out about people. You could sort of fake it back in my day. You could be a little bit of an asshole and not the word of mouth didn't quite get around.
Mhm.
But now three clicks later, and there you are.
You can figure out who the assholes are.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Or people are like, "Oh, who do you work for?" Boom, boom, boom. "Hey, Doug."
Mhm.
Dancers say to me, or talent say to me a lot, "Say nice things about me." And I only say what you write. You're on time, you're lovely, you work hard, you're tired, you're lazy, so
Mhm.
be what you want me to say, because we only takes one little text to find out who you really are.
That's the
If
truth.
when the phone rings, you want people to be like, "Oh my god, it's Doug,"
Mhm.
or "Oh my god, it's Doug." We're like, do we want tombstones behind us, or do we want it to be little the things that we've sown?
Yeah.
Have we laid the groundwork for people to rise up? Have we laid the groundwork for people to stand taller, to be better? That's one of my favorite things about what we get to do, that, once we get you, we get to shine you up a little bit better.
Mhm.
So then when we let you go, you're ready for your next adventure.
And you can be fucking on time for Beyonce.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And learning the basics, when to keep your mouth shut, when to be quiet.
Mhm.
I also say to kids all the time too that especially when you're gigging to try to survive, there are a lot of nice people out there and there's a lot of not so nice people.
Mm.
We know who pay people on time and who don't. We also knew creeps who text people at 2 a.m. asking for lingerie pictures or whatever. And so I said that to dancers, especially share that with your brothers and sisters of who to stay away from,
Mhm.
who are the sleazy, non non-workable types or who give you a check
Mhm.
3 months later.
For half of what you signed for.
Correct. Or, or send you Venmo and they cancel it or whatever. It's like,
Mm.
oh, come on. We have to be authentic. We have to be real and treat people with respect. And I'm not, I've never been a snake producer. I would never bid against you and then tell, hey, I'll do it cheaper just to get the job. No, it's like, let's put our cards on the table and see what happens.
Well, that's how you keep your clients.
Well, correct. But I will say, I am after you. If you're an asshole, if you treat people like, talent like tissues that can just be discarded, then I am after you. You don't deserve your job. And I promise, I say to kids every single audition, if people are yelling and screaming at you, and anyone who's listening, please do this. If you're in a position where people are just belligerent, please get your phone out. Please record them.
Mhm.
Hello, TMZ,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because
That's a real thing.
that's exactly right. People should not have positions of power if they can't handle it. Take a walk, get some water,
Yeah.
whatever, but you can't belittle people and then expect them to rise up and be great.
That's the truth.
It's like, come on, we need, but we have to stick together
Mhm.
and make sure that people know how people really are. Because once you get behind the curtain, so to speak, then what?
Mhm. Well, I played high level sports my whole life, and you're speaking the truth. I mean, like, it's the exact same thing. Like when you're running a company or when you're dealing with 27 dancers and a big budget, like same thing. You got 12 guys, 5 on the floor. You all got to be on the same page. You got to respect each other. You can't yell at each other, but you got to communicate sometimes aggressively, but in a way that doesn't belittle someone else in order to get them to perform better. It's just life lessons.
I try to, at this dance convention, I also try to speak to parents. I call them up and like, don't let people yell and scream at your children.
Right.
Because, they do a lot of like competition stuff on the weekend.
Mhm.
And then finally, when they're 18, just ready to come into real showbiz, so to speak, they're out. They're burned out. They didn't get to be kids. They didn't get to enjoy themselves. They've taken the joy out of this amazing thing that we know on the inside. It's evaporated now because it's been so harsh as opposed to they were nurtured. Yes, there's a time to be like, don't be late. Come on. I've told you 3 times with that note, you got to get it together sometimes.
Mm.
But it doesn't have to be at a point that it seems so hurtful that they don't want to do it anymore.
Mhm. And we're dealing with artists, so we're all sensitive.
Yeah, never.
Mhm.
I can't imagine what you're saying. But yeah, yeah.
Well, Doug, I'll put links to the website and stuff in the Instagram, and I'll tag you in all this stuff. And is there anything that we haven't covered that you might want to chat about? Or are you feeling good?
I think I feel really good. God knows I can talk for days and about a little of this and a little of that, but
Mhm.
I'm just so grateful to get paid to do what I love to do,
Mhm.
and no life is without hardship, but it's made us better. It's made us who we are. And I hope that my legacy feels truthful and it feels honest and it feels like, I'm sorry, one last story.
Oh, give it to me.
It's about Cher.
Fuck yes, that's great.
So back when Cher was having a little interview and she was dressed like a ringmaster.
Perfect.
And she says something like, I have all these little girls around me these days. And I think she said like Pink and Beyonce and anyway, she named a bunch of up and coming artists.
Mhm.
And she took her whip and she said, all I've got to say, follow this, you bitches. And the lights went down and it became this Indian spectacle. And she had a quick change. She came riding out on a animatronic elephant. So
Showmanship.
that's right.
Mhm.
So part of what I do and part of what I've said to my team as well is that every job we do, everything that we do, we have to do to our very best. I can't look at myself in the mirror if I haven't done my absolute best with the money and the time that we've been given.
Mhm.
You know, you can't get a Rolls Royce if you only have Geo Metro money, but the Geo Metro money can be spectacular.
Mhm.
We can maximize that. But in the things that we create in Vegas and around the world and theme parks and cruise ships, thank you, Cher. Follow that, you bitches.
Right? I think that's the perfect way to end this.
That's right.
Follow that, you bitches. And now look, we can go up here so people can see that we're both in the same room.
Yes.
Doug, great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And
Ryan.
come back anytime.
Please.
And I know you got more stories.
Always. Always. That was just today's version.
All right.
So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome, sir.
Fade to black.